All right, it is Friday, February 5th. Super Bowl weekend is upon us. Washington football team, all kinds of moves. We got George Wallace from WTOP Sports going to help us break it down here. Here's Riggo.
All right, Todd, one correction right out of the blocks. It's Yorgos. Right?
Yep. Yorgo.
Oh,
Right.
my Greek
That was pretty
brother.
good, by the way. That was good.
My Greek brother.
I had to pull it out. I texted George a while back, and he communicated. I said, "Well, how do you say George in Greece? In Greek?"
Yeah.
And no, how do you spell it? G-E-R.
Gior. Yeah, it's just phonetically.
And I said, "How do you pronounce that? Giorgo?" Or something
Yor.
like that.
I was been calling you Yorgi for how many?
Well, that's close.
Oh, so you knew?
Yeah.
I thought sure I was going to get one over on Todd.
He did say that.
I've been calling him Yorgi.
I did. I said, "Oh, I got
Yorgi
this
for
on Todd."
Yorgi for years.
That was good, though. That was very good.
All right. Well, did your mom or your dad? Who's the Greek in your family? Your dad,
Both.
your mom?
Both.
Both are.
Yeah, we both.
What was the original Wallace name? That can't be Greek. is it?
Valiotis.
Huh?
Valiotis.
Valios. So, were you little Yorgos when you grew up?
It was not as much as it wasn't as much in my house as it was my parents' household. It wasn't
Right. When they
full
went
Greek.
over to their parents'
Yeah,
house?
they were a lot of it Greek. Growing up in the house, not as much for us.
Let me ask you, were your parents, were they born here?
Yeah.
Or did they, but their parents immigrated from Greece?
No,
Or it goes back a couple of generations?
couple of generations. My
My-
mom's father was born here, and then went there had a baby, and then came back when he was like 18.
I got you.
Yeah.
My, which I don't know, I think you might be too far down the line, but my roommate, Chris Versopoulos, third round pick with the Jets in 1971, he came over here from Greece.
Oh, okay.
And they settled in Torrance, California. But the interesting thing is, he always told me, because he was technically still, because he was born in Greece, he's a Greek citizen. He had Greek citizenship and American citizenship. Back in those days, I thought you had to be one or the other.
I
But
remember
anyway.
the name on the back of his jersey. My God, it just
I
went
know.
for
How
days.
long-
Well, that's the reason he didn't play baseball. Because he was a hell of a baseball player. But
That's an
they told
awful
him,
reason
Well,
to
listen.
derail a career.
well, it was because they told him, they said, you have to change your name. And he wouldn't do it.
Can't he go with Ferris?
I remember seeing him at the Senior Bowl and looking at that name going, who the hell is
Can I
this
buy
guy?
a vowel?
I mean, I'm from Kansas. I mean, Smith, Jones. I mean, my mouth was getting,
Ferrisopoulos.
oh, God, it was
So
a
was he?
mouthful.
He speak.
But he could buy. He technically still, because the Greek islands, they got all kinds of them. I think if you're a Greek citizen, you got the money, you can buy one from the
Yeah.
government, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
in on that.
I don't have one, but yeah.
You're working on it, George. You're working on it.
Can we do
Like
the
the guy-
show? We can do the show from there.
Yeah,
like the guy-
George, can we hit your vacation
Yeah,
spot
let's
over?
go.
Can you throw us the
Absolutely.
keys, the combination to the lock?
Super Bowl party.
He's got a place down the Keys.
George has a Greek island. You know, the family.
Oh,
it's a
Greek
little family
island.
secret.
Yeah, that is. Well, he's not going to let it out either. He wants to keep it that way.
Oh, my phone's ringing. I got to get this. I got to get the call.
Keep riffraff like you and me.
Yeah,
showing
we
up.
got no shot.
I got that. There goes the neighborhood. Okay. All right, George. A lot of stuff going on out the park this week.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? What was the biggest announcement?
They introduced Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney, general manager, vice player, president, player personnel. Here's the big thing you got out of that press conference. Ron's still in charge.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's the big one. And they're not going to tell you anything about the quarterback because I don't think they have an idea what they're going to do with the quarterback situation right now. All options are on the table. If you heard that once, you heard it 100 times during that press conference.
And as they sing off the same hymnal, because it is a new culture, and they put out a document for the top 5 takeaways, and everything is a collaborative approach, right?
Yeah.
And back to what George said relative to, while Martin Mayhew is the GM, Marty Herney is the executive vice president of football player personnel. They both report to Rivera.
Correct.
So that's the collaborative approach.
Well, let's do a timeout and back up a couple, 3 weeks. The last time you were here in person, if I'm not mistaken, it was about ready to be announced that Marty Herney would be the GM, and I guess maybe Martin Mayhew would be coming in, or maybe not.
Mayhew was not. He was.
But then I remember asking, because we talked about this, that has it been officially announced?
And I said,
it was like everybody, it was like a foregone conclusion, right?
Well, because it had leaked out from all the made guys, from the Schefters to all the Jason Lockenfor, everybody that, oh yeah, it's done, Marty's coming, and we were waiting on the press announcement.
Right. Yeah, we kept
and
saying
then
it.
you asked me, and you said, did they officially announce it? And I kind of went, it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
It was supposed to be
I
any
didn't
day.
know.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later,
So this
Mr.
is
Mayhew.
This is a curiosity because, if I'm not mistaken, it kind of harkens us way back to when Jim Zorn became the head coach. If I'm not mistaken, before that happened, Jim Fossil was rumored to be taking the job.
Yes.
But I guess there was feedback going back to Ashburn that people were not happy. Is it?
Social media
refresh our
exploded,
memories.
remember?
Huh?
Remember when they leaked out the Fossil was going to be the coach? The social media went nuts.
Which is exactly what happened in this case.
He didn't
That's
like that.
exactly what happened in this case. It was universally panned, the Marty Herney, that he's the guy. I mean, it was actually, I was surprised at how loud the noise was that it was anti this move. So, Marty
Because he was
Mayhew,
with Ron in Carolina.
No
He
question.
hired him.
Who?
Herney.
You're right.
And he did two tours of duty
stints,
in Carolina. His overall winning percentage record is not good. Now, Martin Mayhew qualified.
Yeah.
Marty, he cut his teeth with the Lions.
Yeah.
Obviously, not a lot of success there. Went out to San Francisco, but wasn't the guy, but was part of it. So it's exactly how that played out.
Yeah.
The noise was so loud that here's a retread in Marty Herney coming in. Ron Rivera's record was it's barely above 500 before he came to the Washington football team.
Mm-hmm.
They were 7-9 this year.
Yeah.
So there's that level. He wanted his guy, and I think this, once again.
But who is his guy? Who is Ron Rivera's guy? Marty Herney?
Marty.
Well, then how did you tell me that he's still in? This was sarcasm. That Ron Rivera is actually calling the shots.
No, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Oh, wait a second.
Yes.
They both reported. Now, do you believe?
Who's got the bigger job? Who's got the more important job?
I believe
They're
it's
even?
Ron, and then if you go by title, GM is Mayhew, and then player personnel guy is
Executive Vice President of Football Player
now,
Personnel.
Here's what I don't know if you believe. Did you hear when Ron said in the presser that he went to Dan and said, "I have two. Boy, these guys both qualified." And Dan said, "Well, hire them both."
Yeah.
So I don't know how much I believe of that.
Of course, it's listen, let's do a quick snapshot of the history to fill in some of the because John, your question, I don't believe there is a separation. They can say what they want because Marty was the guy. He had the stripes and it leaked out. It didn't go over well, and I think then Dan does what he does, and he goes, hire them both? Oh, look at us. It's kumbaya.
Okay, so then how can you tell me then Ron Rivera is in charge?
Because that's just the way the structure is.
Well, because, okay.
I'm confused.
Okay. So here's how much Ron is going to be in charge, okay? Let's take it back.
He's in charge 90%, right? But there's that little 10%.
Listen, draft choices, starting quarterbacks, play calling, not so much. Okay. All right. So, but and again, this isn't being the naysayer. This being fact based, and we got 22 years of. You are who you are after 22 years,
and it
right?
probably all goes back to Frank Herzog.
Damn you, Frank.
That's where it all started.
But I think once Frank left, I don't know. Just saying. Now, so 99, you got Norv, right? And Norv's gone after 2 years. You've been there 7 years total. Took them. They were 10-6. Going back through the history here,
they fired him with a winning record.
Yes. And do you realize?
He fired.
So in 1999, they were 10-6. 2005, 10-6. 2012, 10-6. They've only got two other winning seasons, so they're above 500 in 15, 9-7, and 16, 8-7 in 22 years. 5 winning seasons out of 22. So you go from Norv to Schottenheimer, who Marty should have.
He broke even.
Marty broke even,
8-8.
but everybody felt good about the trajectory of what Marty Schottenheimer, who won everywhere else he had been.
And as Yorgos pointed out, that he did it with Tony Banks as
Tony
quarterback.
Banks.
Tony Banks
with Tony
and
Banks.
Rod Gardner, the Flash. So then you got Steve Spurrier. You got the two Steve Spurrier years. Well, let's go to the college ranks. Let's get that hot guy.
And let's raise all coaching salaries in the NFL.
Well, he did that with Joe Gibbs
and piss off every owner.
He did do that.
No, I think it was. With
it did start with Spurrier.
I don't remember what Spurrier.
He was like $25 million for 5 years.
Yeah, he did.
In other words, he'd like doubled in every. I think what I remember at the time, all the owners were like, "Well, now you're putting the pressure on us." Right?
With zero experience in the NFL.
Of course, but it's thought. But he was the hot college commodity. then you see it every year, right?
Yeah.
Now it was Urban Meyer this go around, and more times than
Chip
not.
Kelly, throw him in.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so then you go to the 4 years with Coach Gibbs, in which they then drove up the coordinators to record salaries.
Right.
With, I believe it was Al Saunders.
Saunders.
Was it Saunders and Greg Williams
Greg
or Mike?
Williams.
No.
Well, Saunders for sure.
Oh,
Saunders,
he brought Greg Williams.
Greg
Nolan was
Williams.
before. The ice cream was the soft
was
ice cream.
Nolan.
Yeah.
Okay, so he then, I believe he paid them both $1.5 million. It was a record, which again pissed off the rest of the league, and those were Gibbs's year. Then you got the 2 years where you were horny for Zorny.
Yep.
Right. So Zorn gets the deal. Now you go to another made guy, Mike Shanahan, proven track record,
Right.
and he gets Donovan McNabb hurled on him.
Yep.
Then, I forget, Jake Gruden, he lasted, 6 years?
Yeah, this is stunning that Gruden had such a long run.
So the point being is, people, if you want to be, and this is what they do every year, and they're the best in the off season, that's 22 years of ineptitude. I don't care if you're like a famous actor, your favorite band, performer, but if they put out a winning single, a winning movie, a handful of times out of every 22 seasons, so don't believe what your eyes are telling you right now. To me, you're guilty until proven innocent with this franchise, because otherwise, if you want to blindly go in and you're celebrating 7-9 in the NFC East, which was awful, and you backed into it, and so just tap the brakes on what's going on out there. Just a little history and perspective.
I use this all the time, and in this case, it really, literally is where the saying was, why the saying was drummed up or created to describe the situation. But the French have a saying for this. Can't do it in French, and I don't think you'd expect me
You've already done Greek. You know Greek?
You're good for the day.
I can do it in Greek, but I can't do it in French. But it's not the same.
But it's not rest for the audience.
And you've heard it a million times. The more it changes, the more it stays the same.
Right.
That's the one thing everybody should take away from this. And until the watershed moment happens, and this team has a moment where they actually play a meaningful playoff game. But this gets me to something kind of interesting too. In a weird sort of way, you could actually make the argument that Washington played Tampa as close as anybody played them in this whole run up to the Super
Bizarre,
Bowl.
isn't it?
Which is like, I can't. With a quarterback that came off the street. Flukes.
I get it. I get it.
Flukes happen.
Okay.
Flukes happen. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but they weren't going to win that game, and Tampa played down to the team that it was. But I agree. I'm not knocking what they did.
Crazy.
I'm not really. I mean, to me, I'm just making a statement that's just kind of more of a phenomenon.
Right.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
It's not like Washington's on the cusp because they played them.
An aberration, not an apparition.
If Alex plays that game's not even close.
Of course not.
Smith.
Yeah, well, and it took, what's his name? I've already forgot his name. Huh?
You don't have the shirt?
Taylor Heineke?
You don't have the
Heineke.
T-shirt?
Huh?
Can we by the way, do you know they're selling T-shirts of him when he was diving for the end zone?
Listen, we promoted it on TJRS. John couldn't believe the shirt where he's diving for the end zone.
You lost the
legend,
game.
The legend?
Yeah.
Anyway, Taylor Heineke.
Well, my point was
You gotta sell
that
product, George.
without him and the freakish game that he had, I mean, this really looked like it was going to be a 50-something, which is very well would have turned out.
Right.
I think, just as you said, if Alex Smith would have had to play quarterback, because he escaped so many. I mean, he was Houdini that day. And that's the whole thing gets us back to where you were today, where they're saying we're still up in the air about the quarterback. It's so strange. And I guess that's the way you look at this. It's like, where somebody is in a zone. Heineke was in a zone that day. Because for whatever reason they've gone through it, to me it's like this guy saved a lot of humiliation. He really did. Because you could have had, if things would have been the way they were, and Alex Smith would have said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. I think I can play. And you really do get thumped, just humiliated. You go way back. I mean, it's like, it's kind of like losing the Super Bowl. Here you had this great season, you won your conference, you lose the Super Bowl, and you have the worst feeling. You have a worse feeling than the team that went 0-16.
Sure.
I don't know why that works, but psychologically that's the way it is. And I think that would have been very damaging to the franchise had, because they're going around going, we want our division, and then you just get pummeled at home in the first round. What Taylor Heineke did for this franchise, I don't think you can overstate. I mean, I still think of everything that we saw during the playoffs, what he did to me, is by far, when it comes to performances under pressure, I don't know when you could go back and say I've ever seen a quarterback play better than he did. I don't know. You can honestly say, give me a game. I mean,
it's stunning what he did.
For a guy that was taking classes 3 weeks ago.
I mean, in other words, you have to factor all this stuff in.
Yeah.
You know, you got to put the algorithm in and all that stuff. But you factor that in, it's head and shoulder. I mean, the guy's, I don't even know if he got a full cup of coffee when he was in the NFL the first time. Now he's out there.
He did have a relationship with Scott Turner.
Yeah.
He did have a relationship with Scott Turner. And Turner had told him earlier in the year, stay in shape. Stay in shape with COVID.
Yeah.
We don't know what the hell's going to happen. And so that did happen.
Which I'll give them credit for. They called him, became the COVID quarterback. He isolated from everybody when he got here, practice squad.
I mean, he's serious about it. I mean, there's no question about it. Like I said, if they had told me to stay in shape, how much money you paying me every week to stay in shape? I don't think I can do that, Scott. I'm just going to have to be a renegade.
I just can't, Scott.
It ain't my makeup.
I'm not a good community guy.
I'm not that guy.
Not a good community guy.
But he did make himself some money, I think. He'll get a shot at camp, whether it's
he
here
should
or,
get a shot.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I actually started with this and get carried away on all these side roads. But you look at that and you go, I mean, you can't explain it because honestly, when you think about it, is he capable of that game in, game out, and for 5, 6, 10 years or whatever? Well, I don't think many people's going to buy into that.
Well, that's just it, John. George, who was the quarterback that mopped up like a year or two prior to Josh Johnson.
Oh yeah,
Josh Johnson, who had come from the XFL arena as well. You are who you are.
They beat Jacksonville.
And and everybody's like, oh, we got our guy, and then he's bounced around. He ended up being a backup somewhere or whatever, and that's great. And I want Taylor to get a shot. I think he is deserving of that at a minimum.
I agree.
For what he did do to this franchise. But it's not like he's really some unknown commodity amongst the league. And when you're the backup quarterback, I believe it was the St. Louis Stallions.
Yeah.
To start
in that new league that they started.
That's the thing.
XFL.
I don't think, and I don't know, but you wouldn't miss on him, right? I mean, he all of a sudden, if he were that good, he'd be playing on somebody's. He wouldn't be taking classes at ODU in December.
Yeah, he's not a young guy by NFL standards.
Yeah, he was.
And how much does it?
Man for all seasons.
How much does something play into it like this? The Tampa had basically no tape on him. Does that matter in a situation?
Sure, absolutely it does. I don't think they had any idea, and with their pass rush. Let's face it, that pass rush was pretty fierce that day. And a guy like Alex Smith would have got crushed.
Oh, crushed.
They wouldn't.
I don't think they knew how athletic Taylor was.
Exactly.
And his ability to use his legs.
And it's stunned. It's actually, and then he could make plays once he got away from everybody.
It's on a T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. If you get a T-shirt made up of that,
but like you just look at that play, Alex doesn't. There's no way he gets out of that. Not many.
Oh no. And we saw that
he potentially gets hurt.
Yeah, and we saw with each passing game, the more he played, the more it got worse for him, and he was starting to just go down to the ground for self-preservation.
Well, and now it comes out it was more than a calf injury. No kidding. Of course, it was more than a calf injury. With that leg. So who knows what he's going to do?
Well, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So they say, but there's no mention like Alex Smith. They haven't made it for. He hasn't made an announcement. But I would, you hear me say this all the time. They've got to go to Alex Smith and say, Alex, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not like because what's the point here?
Right.
He's done. What's he going to do?
You cannot go into next season with Alex Smith as an option for your quarterback. You just can't. And I think Ron doesn't want to do that, but I think he will. Say, put him in the front in the building. Put him in a coach or
coach. Wait a second. What do you think Ron will want to do?
Ron doesn't want to go to him and have to make the decision. I bet you
tell him that thank you, but to give me the football.
I think he hopes Alex comes and says, "Look, I exceeded all my expectations last year.
He's in charge. The buck has to stop with him if anything has changed.
No, I get that. I get that.
But they always come to guys when they say you've lost a step. Why would this be any different?
Right.
He hasn't been a part of any greatness here with this franchise. No. He hasn't quarterbacked a team in a Super Bowl.
But George knows from a marketing perspective and the feel-good story that was the Alex Smith story that will be made into a Lifetime miniseries. They've already done the ESPN 30
Who's
for
play
30.
Alex Smith? You figured that out?
You.
A little makeup? I think I can do it, George.
No, but
I'm
think,
about as mobile. Maybe not
He's like,
quite.
No, he isn't too bad.
I'll do all the stunt work. It'll look pretty real. Seriously,
funny.
it'll look pretty real.
So what other nuggets, with the press conferences and anything that you glean, anything that caught your attention? Because obviously quarterback is first and foremost the need of this franchise.
And I thought it was interesting when he basically avoided all questions about Alex, saying, again, all options are on the table, but he was specifically asked about Kyle Allen and his recovery. And Ron said, oh, he's recovering. He's definitely part of what we're doing here. So you have a feeling that Kyle Allen will be in camp. I bet Taylor Heineke will be in camp, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do. What reports are they were in on Stafford. How far in? I don't know. If this Derek Carr thing pops out now, I don't know if you want Derek Carr here. How much are you going to give up for Derek Carr?
What's their draft position?
19. Deshaun Watson, how far do you go? I'm not giving up Chase Young for Deshaun Watson. Absolutely not. If that's what it takes, that's just me. But
well, I mean, that's interesting because there's so many. His brand is so strong. In other words, look at it from obviously, it's something that I can't ever appreciate is there's more to it when you're a GM, I'm guessing, and you're because football is entertainment, and being in the entertainment business, marketing. Well, it's so easy to market Chase Young because of the ton of marketing that's already been poured into him while he was at Ohio State.
And he's a local kid.
So he's a brand.
Right.
All right. But the guy that plays just on the other side of him, who was
Mr.
drafted
Sweat.
the year before, now there's the guy which I think ultimately when it comes to NFL careers, his will be as good, if not better, than Chase Young's. You can't see it now because he comes out of Mississippi State or someplace like that. Nobody knows who the hell he is. But as far as the chops goes, he's the real deal as well.
Yeah.
And so is that the guy that you think about? Because you've got this great defensive line, but in all honesty, they were hot and cold this past season.
No question.
So where you go with that? And then it'd be draft picks and number 91, Ryan Kerrigan. Does he have any trade value at all?
No, I don't think so right now. Here's the other thing you think about the line. All those guys are coming up. You can't re-sign everybody. So, Allen's coming up, Payne, Sweat's still on his rookie deal. But so you have to, that could be play into your decision, right? If you're not going to
Jonathan Allen's in last year his deal.
Right. So you can't re-sign anybody. So if you're going to get something for somebody, throw them in a trade.
Right.
Somebody that has value.
They still haven't signed Sheriff, have they?
No.
So was he under what do you call
franchise?
it?
Yeah, he was
franchise.
a tag, yeah.
He was a franchise.
He'll make that. What's it be? 17 a year. I don't know if they're going to pay him that.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of money. He's injury prone too. He's
And
solid,
been,
of course.
yeah,
He's solid,
right.
yeah. But
he comes back. Well, they got a lot of work to do, and this is what I said. My personal feeling is that they won their division, but it's a misleading.
Correct.
The perception of this
because somebody had to win it.
Exactly. Somebody had to win it, and you can't help but thinking that Dallas would have had something to say about this had Prescott not got injured. The Giants, they would have had to say something about it, but their quarterback Allen got injured.
And Saquon got hurt.
And
pretty big deal. What are you, first or second game of the season?
Second game of the year,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, he's been gone the whole time. So
yeah, you're right. This
it'll
team
be
is more than one. They're not just a quarterback away.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
They're not the Tampa Bay Bucks of 2020.
Correct.
Right.
And listen, statistically the defense performed. Statistically, what you saw on the field and how they did not get it done in more times than not in pivotal games, pivotal times in the first half.
Yeah.
They always put the offense in a
First half
hole,
was brutal.
and then they make up for it in the second half. Bottom line is, 22 years, and your eyes don't lie.
Yeah.
And when you see 5 winning seasons out of 22, and you can't throw 7 and 9, and we won the NFC, that's a winning season. All right, because
Right. Well, then that's out of the side of my eyes. Say, yeah, we're in our division.
And you know what else about some of those stats? Think about a couple of these years. The first Gibbs year, they go 5 in a row or they don't go. Right? They were losing record. 2007, the Sean Taylor year, they won their last 4. Same deal. Shanahan, they were 3 and they finished 10-6 with Griffin, right?
Sounds right.
3 and 6. They won 7 straight, so they were on their way. It's not like they've had a
that was 10-6,
start to finish dominant type season
Exactly.
since I don't know when. You know?
Well, that's just it. So when you see and you hear all the culture and all these great hirings and it's kumbaya, and you also got to understand that the owner is under a extraordinary amount of pressure.
Well, this is exactly what I want to find out.
He's not out of the woods yet either.
The league investigation, and this is these are moves that everything that's gone down between him and his partners, these moves are fueled and facilitated by that. That, hey, you may have some dirt on me, but look at all the great things I've done. Almost in a year's time, I've cleaned house, and I've hired all these tremendous people, but just don't take the bait. Judge to what happens on the field and off the field, for that matter.
Well, that's the whole deal. And I was going to ask George if if there's any rumors or anything. I guess rumors are unsubstantiated rumors, right?
Dirt. Just like, any good gossip, George?
Yeah, exactly. Have you heard by being out there? Is there anything coming like, oh yeah, they're really digging up some stuff? I mean, the biggest one to me is the allegation that came from the woman that was paid off. What was it, $1.5 million or something?
1.5
back in 2010 or 8 or something like that for sexual harassment on a trip back from Las Vegas.
Yes.
By the owner. And I'm curious to know, in other words, the NFL, and this is more of a question for the NFL, is how will they, if they find out the facts, is yes, but I mean, I don't know how this would ever happen, but if there is guilt there, I mean, this is the same thing that happened to Carolina and Richardson.
Well, there's going to be punishment. I guarantee you there is going to be punishment, and I think it's going to be grand and it's going to be large, because you can say over 21 years that this is institutionally, it's a bad look for the league, and in one of the best football markets that's powerful with politics and everything that goes on here. They are not happy the way that this franchise has been perceived publicly and otherwise, from the name change that got forced upon because the sponsors said, change it. Not that he did it for any noble reasons.
He wasn't going to do it.
And no, hell no, he wasn't going to do it. But they're going to get, if I don't believe they're going to take away the franchise necessarily or force him to sell, but there will be severe penalties.
And it's,
I can't imagine what it would be.
Goodell
draft
said
choices and fines and.
Well, look what they did. We were thinking about. Look what they did.
Go ahead, George.
No. I would say, look what they did with COVID with the Raiders. How much they fined in the draft picks, things like that. If they're coming down like that. On this, and what are they going to do to this franchise?
They're still pissed off with the gentleman's agreement with the salary cap issue going back
about 6-7 years ago.
Shanahan.
But okay,
forgot about that.
This is where, though, from the league's perspective, it's self-defeating. How do you, like you said, this is one of the best markets in the NFL. So now you're going to take away draft choices from a franchise that's floundered for 20 years.
Right.
Make it even hard. Make them flounder more. How does that help the league?
Because at the end of the day,
if you leave the ownership in place, how does it help the league?
You have to put him on notice if he's going to stay in the game, and it's going to get more painful for you. It's another possibility to force him to sell. Do you know the handful of rich guys, and I mean really rich guys, that would scoop this up in no time.
2 seconds.
They could buy and overpay for this thing.
That would love to get his hands on it, just step down.
I would say one guy just left his spot.
Yeah, basically.
Kind of like, hey, I'm available.
Yeah, what's your resume, kid?
DC.
What's your resume, kid? Actually, what's your PIN number?
Yeah. Well, Goodell said yesterday that Beth Wilkinson is finishing her investigation. I love how it's happening right now. After the Super Bowl, it's going to come out.
Well, and that's just it.
I don't know what
it
to
will
believe
not
about
be
that.
until after the Super Bowl. You can, Super Bowl's this weekend.
Yeah.
So, they know.
Super Bowl's 2 days away.
Yeah, exactly.
48 hours, Todd. We're going to know everything. We'll be in the middle of Super Sunday in 48 hours.
Interesting times.
That'll be interesting to see what they do, what the league does. But here's the other thing: are the owners, if the owners want him to force him out, right? Are the owners not going to do that because you're telling me this isn't the only franchise that I'm sure the stuff is going on?
If not for the grace of God, there goes I.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there is a little bit of truth.
Well, I agree.
But then the other part of that is you got to catch me.
Yeah, and the other guys, if they look out for each other versus some of the stories I hear and what's been earned amongst the other ownership, and again, how he has tweaked the nose of the league for a while now, and they're not real exuberant. Again, if you're Bobby Kraft and you're winning Super Bowls and you're whatever, it's a little bit who is a made guy and is probably the most powerful owner in the league.
He is,
and with Jerry Jones probably second, but this isn't that.
Where's he get his power from? Super Bowl win?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
in a model franchise, and you know, it is.
I think Jerry would have it. I think he's going to argue that point.
The Roonies,
he ain't conceding
the
the top spot
Jerry's
to
like,
this.
have you seen Jerry?
He's going, but I'm the Dallas Cowboys.
Jerry, don't make me pull up your
America's team.
Don't
Let's
make
not
me
forget.
pull up your record, Jerry, because it ain't much better.
Jerry's yacht, Dan's yacht, you know, either one.
Yeah, about the same.
All right, guys, let's pivot to Super Sunday.
It is upon us.
Super Bowl 55. Rigo,
55.
you were 17, Super Bowl 17 and 18.
Well, I was just at Super Bowl 50, and it feels like
That was San
just
Francisco,
that's
right?
5 years ago, exactly. That was out in San Francisco.
Gosh, that does seem like 2
Santa
years ago.
Clara.
Santa Clara, yeah.
It's bizarre how quickly these things come and go.
So
But I got to say this: of all the Super Bowls, I don't know. I don't really watch sports on television. I mean, I don't watch ESPN or Fox Sports, so I don't. So my head's kind of in a cloud. But having said that, there is no sizzle. There is no pizzazz. I don't think, George. You tell me. This is what you do for a living. You're on the cutting edge. It just seems like it's another week. You know what they call it, regular season game coming up on Sunday.
It is. And it feels
It's
like that because
weird.
there's no Super Bowl week. Tampa lives there, obviously, but Kansas City's not going in until Saturday.
They're flying in tomorrow.
And they're flying back home after the game.
As soon as the game's over.
As soon as the game's over. So it is like a regular season game, to your point. No build up. And let's be honest, I'm okay with it because how often can we hear about Tom Brady and his 10? I get it. He's been in 10 Super Bowls. Can you imagine if it was a full week?
Yeah.
Media week. And I'm not going to take anything away from him. I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm with
you're
you
right.
on this,
Yeah.
George. You can keep taking it away.
All right, fine.
I've had enough. I mean, really, it does get to a point where you're happy for a guy, and after all, you're going, God damn, he's a boar hog. Hey, get away from the trough there, will you, pal? It's like,
Now,
let somebody else.
Mahomes, on the other hand, I mean, the kid is, you know, if he wins
He's a budding Brady?
If he wins
Yes,
this
he
game,
is.
if he wins this game,
Watch out.
Yeah.
It'll be the same. Well, you got to admit, though, I mean, the guy is getting paid $500 million a year. And this is what's
hard to
crazy.
say. It is.
This is what's crazy. This is his
Not
second
a year.
game.
It's stretched out a little bit. I think he said $500 million a year.
his
did I?
contract.
I think it's stretched out a little bit.
I tell you, by next
Still,
year,
yeah,
by next year,
If he wins this game, look out.
That guy kills the salary cap.
I just got to think. I was telling my wife the other day, which is so crazy because I don't know if you guys remember, but way back when I was playing, I think they said Frank Sinatra was like $50K for a performance.
That's right.
$50K.
You went the big guy.
There's guys nowadays, quarterbacks are making $2 million for a performance.
Yes,
Kirk
literally.
Cousins is making $2 million every time he goes out on a Sunday afternoon.
And what is the, you know, it's funny. I was thinking because I know you guys just touched on the 83 the Cowboy Championship game at RFK, and I remember watching that. And right before the Darrell Grant touchdown, Summerall is talking about one of these teams going to the Super Bowl, and they get an extra $70,000 to go to the
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Big deal.
This is what, well, and it was back then because remember the strike had been that year, and
Right.
somehow they'd come, and all of a sudden things had changed, and they upped the ante. And the weird thing is, I don't think for these championship games, I don't think that the salaries are not comparable. I should say the game checks are not comparable to the regular season game checks. This was always one of those.
No, it's a different pot of money, right? And
It must
and
be,
you guys all got equal. You got equal shares.
Oh, each player did?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody got the same amount of money. But here's what was interesting is that in my I didn't think of it when I did my second to the last contract with Mr. Cook. But I did in my last contract, of course, that last year, the team never made the playoffs. And that was, well, this is ridiculous. Let's just say I make $10,000 a game for a regular season game. Now I get into the playoffs and I'm making $3,000 for a playoff game.
Right.
I'm going,
Playoffs.
that ain't right. That ain't right. It's like the guy, in the commercial, like when he sees the guy walking naked. That ain't right. And that's what but I didn't think of it till 2 years later, and I went, hey, by the way.
My dear boy.
Yeah,
Jack,
and of course,
get over
we
here.
never made the play. But I will guarantee you that there's nobody making the equivalent of a game check to play in the Super Bowl. They actually get paid less to play in this game.
Oh, right.
There's no way.
That's crazy.
I mean,
100%.
how much is Mahomes making this year? I mean, it should be a game check. You should just get another game check because whatever the money that is that they have in the playoffs, it's outdated. It always was. It doesn't make any sense. As the game gets bigger, the money gets less.
But for the people that are not the second, third string ones, then they benefit from that, right?
Well,
Because
even
their game
those
checks
guys,
aren't mentioning.
Well, I don't know, George. Think about it. I
Yeah.
mean, what's a rookie contract worth nowadays? $400,000?
Yeah.
Is that the minimum?
It's more than that now.
Well,
but
okay.
you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
It's 100,000, 200,000 more maybe.
So anyway, how much do anybody know how much they're going to make the actual Super Bowl take is this year
Yes,
for
the
winner?
crack staff here at TJRS, George. You know, we have a nose for news.
I know you do.
And a nose for BS, but these are the facts. All right, so John, 1978 season, and I have the rates
Breakdown.
of what you were paid in 1978 and this season. Wild card division winner, 1978. How much you think?
I'm going to say, I don't know, $17,000, $18,000, $20,000.
$3,000. 2020 season, $33,000
For the wild card.
Wild card.
To win the division. All right.
Wild card.
Or wild card.
Wild card, other the same. All right, the divisional game, 1978 season,
Then that was probably about
So if it was
7,000.
3, it probably at least doubled.
$5,000. 2020, $33,000. Conference championship, 1978,
So 3 to 5.
I'd
Has
say
to be-
15.
Has to be.
$9,000. You guys continue to overbid.
Man,
$9,000.
We-
And it is
78.
59,000 conference champion this year.
Okay.
The Super Bowl winner in 1978.
15.
I mean, yeah.
And he got, they doubled it, 18,000.
18.
18,000. And
But
this
see, I was
year-
getting mixed up. I was thinking that was not as long ago as it was, but that's, 40 years ago, over 40 years.
Yeah.
40. Yeah.
Yeah, so this year's Super Bowl winner, 130,000.
But like I said, okay, $130,000. I'm trying
That's
for one
that's
game.
not a game check for a lot of those
Yeah, you're
guys.
right.
That's
Yeah, not
true.
even the. Yeah.
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 For a lot of those guys, that is
For the bulk of
not-
your team.
That's right.
So what did so in '72 when they lost the undefeated Dolphins? Didn't they make it $1,500?
Some they got
it wasn't much
and
more
some,
than that.
and
Yeah.
some coupons. For,
It was, exactly,
Yeah.
And a carton of cigarettes. And a blanket.
All right.
And I think all the ammo you can shoot. You just joined the military, sucker.
Congratulations.
All right, so now the other thing that we love about the Super Bowl is the betting, and it's the fun betting. So you got forget your serious gamblers,
Yeah.
but you get the average person. You do the squares. I'm in a couple of squares pools that are fun, John. Where you got 10 numbers across, 10 numbers down, and it's a random. You randomly.
How many points at the end of each quarter?
Exactly. And those are always fun to do when we do them in the office.
They are.
And they are. You make some chingy.
Wait, are they?
Listen, just for that,
Okay,
I'm
if you
going to
say
be. I'm
so.
going to be winning.
Today it is fun. Okay.
That's right. That's
to
right.
me, it's a bigger pain in the ass trying to. Well, I guess you just throw numbers up, right? I mean, or do you really think about it?
No, you can't think
No,
about
it's
it.
random.
It's it's
Totally
a
random.
Oh,
random.
oh,
You
I
don't have
see,
to
it's
do
a
any
draw.
thinking.
Right, that's just it. There is no thinking. It's total blind luck.
Okay, then that's basically like.
Now here's where you got to
I'm in.
think.
I got you.
Now I'm going to put you to the
Making
test.
sense.
Betting on the coin toss.
Yeah.
That is one
Oh,
of the
the heads or
biggest bets in Vegas. And I'm reading for all the guys that make the lines out there, and they're like going, we don't know why, but this has turned
crazy.
into one of the biggest bets over the last 20 years.
You got two
It has
choices.
morphed
You
to
got two.
heads or
Oh,
tails.
and now how does Vegas make money on this one?
Because there's a VIG, there's a 10% VIG.
Oh, for the guy that loses.
for every bet. Yes, and so
Huh?
for the guy,
If you pick the winner, you got to pay 10%.
well, there's a 10% VIG.
Oh, so I bet $1,000. I bet heads. It comes
costs-
up heads. I get $900 back.
It cost you $1,100.
Oh, to make that bet,
Right.
and I get
Yeah.
back 1,000.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Wow.
So it's the odds are
Now, that's a business to
minus
be in.
110.
Oh yeah.
So, and it gives you the whole history of the toss, and you go down that rabbit hole, and you're like going, this, because statistically, we all know, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 50% every time, no matter how many times you do it. So it's fascinating that the winning the flip does not mean winning the game. The winner of the coin
No
toss
way.
is far from a shoe-in to win. Just 24 for 30
What? They
out of
called it?
54 Super Bowls. Those that have
24,
won only 24 times, those that have won the toss have
Win the
won the
game.
Super Bowl.
Here, the other
Now-
thing that now everybody's deferring these days. So, wonder what the stat on that is. You
Let's
win the
see.
toss
We've
and
got
defer,
the-
or do you
let's
take the
see.
ball in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, exactly. What's the point? By the way, what was the Super Bowl that Mark, the referee, what was his name?
Jerry Mark Bright.
Jerry. That
It was your
he-
Super Bowl.
It was our Super Bowl.
was your
There
Super
was
Bowl.
so now they got on the coin that the NFL makes.
Yes.
It goes heads, you stupid bastard, and then on the flip side, it's tails.
You dumbass.
Yeah, you dumbass.
Did you remember that
I don't.
in Super Bowl 17?
Well, obviously, I was
Remember
in the
Jerry
locker room.
Mark Bright?
Yeah,
who
I remember
talked
him,
like,
yeah,
and Jerry, great referee.
Absolutely.
So Bob Kuechenberg was the captain of the Dolphins, and they said, "Okay, you're the halftime, and you flip it." And I think he says, let's say he said heads, and Mark Bright goes, "Okay," he says heads, and tails it is, and he acts like, but he messed it up, and they're like, "Wait a second, that's not what he said," and it was because he kind of didn't under the coin was similar on both sides.
I never knew that.
Go back
Go
and look at it, and they're like, "Wait a second, that's not what happened. That's not what he said."
Well, remember the playoff game when they in Detroit? Who was the referee who called? He says he called heads, and he says he was tails. He goes, "No, that's not what I said."
Right.
It was the Lions, I think.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So now, and they changed the rule where you had to make the call before the toss.
Yep.
That's right.
Because before it was call it in the air, right?
Yeah.
You had to call it in the air.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, it was.
We'll screw it all
Detroit
up.
Game.
No,
And I saw something
You need
yesterday.
an app for this, right? We got to have an app.
Something yesterday I was
For the
looking
coin
at.
toss?
I think it was the last 5. Do you have it there? The last 5 were tails or something? Or the last
Let's
5
see.
were the same?
Tails out front. 6 of the past 7 big games have been tails.
There you go.
You mean Super Bowls?
Yes.
Okay, when you say big games, I'm thinking.
Well,
there's
I
actually,
just kind of read it
they're all
verbatim
Super
like
Bowls,
Ron
but there's
Burgundy.
actually big games
big
within the
games
Super
in
Bowl.
there.
I
Yeah.
just went Ron Burgundy on including 6 of the past 7 big games.
There you go.
So
Reading
6 to
straight from the
7
script.
tails. All right.
6 to 7. All right. Now here's another fun one. John loves this type of stuff.
I can tell.
I want to get into the records.
The over-under on the national anthem.
Oh, yeah, that's about
How long
It's
it will
a
last.
great bet. It's a great bet. Now, this is where, and we always talk about insider knowledge. So this year's the national anthem is Jasmine Sullivan and Eric Church. They're doing a duet, right? And so the national anthem, they have set, and this line has actually gone up, okay? So the line has not gone up. It's Kansas City -3 to Tampa. The line has gone up
on the
anthem. It was 2 minutes, over 2 minutes under. It's gone up by a second because people have been reviewing previous performances, doing their homework on Church and Miss Sullivan here.
That gets, in this sense, then, when do they start the stopwatch and when do they start it? If it goes up a second, that to me is like
That's a
arguable,
big deal.
huh?
Yeah.
Listen,
And is this electronically timed?
it's got to be. So they've got
and
jazz.
they actually-
It has to be electronically timed like the Olympics.
And a lot of times, are they actually singing? Sometimes they'll record the anthem.
Listen, that part, and that's where you get the insider baseball and, it's the fix in because is it live or is it Memorex? So 16 of the last 23 anthems have been completed in under 2 minutes. 16 of the last 23.
I think with duet, I'm going over.
Yeah, I tend to go that way too. Now, you can also get odds on who will sing first. Jasmine Sullivan, Eric Church, or will they start together? You got odds on that. What kind
Now, wait a second, I gotta grouse this one. What if one voice they're coming in together, but one voice is ahead of the other one? What do you do?
That's it together, okay?
That would be together?
If they breathe, they inhale together.
Oh, say. Okay. You can also bet what kind of jacket will Eric Church be wearing. Leather is -135. Denim +185. Other or no jacket +200.
I don't believe it.
Get some insider knowledge from Mr. Church and lay 100 large.
I can't. What's his song? What's he famous for? What's his song?
I couldn't tell you.
I believe he's a country
Yeah.
star.
That's what I thought. He might be country. And is the other gal country too?
I do not know.
Is she a rapper?
She's an R&B star.
Oh, okay, so they're melding two different
And you've got
genres.
the halftime bands in the past. Like, will they do this song? Will they start with this song?
You can have what will be the Weeknd's first song at halftime.
There you go.
Will the Weeknd be seen wearing sunglasses? You can lay some sweet action down, John, on all this stuff. Pretty riveting.
You're tight with
This is bizarre.
You're
but-
tight with the Weekend. Call him up. See what he's in. Let's make some money on
Oh,
this.
that's right. When you said the weekend, I'm kind of. This is the commercial that's on TV, right? The
Right.
guy- where
Yeah.
he drives into the place and the guy kind of looks.
Security guards.
Yeah, but I
then Coco
asked
flew you.
Coco. I said, "What? I just figured some actor, right?" I said, what's the deal with this? They said, well, that's the weekend. I'm going, what do you mean?
No, it's
weekend?
Friday. It's not the weekend. Today's Friday.
Yes, it was like a Who's on First. What are you talking about? That's him. That's him. That guy in the car. That's the weekend. I'm going. It's just some
Friday.
No, but that's what he calls himself. The weekend. I'm going,
Well, we're tragically
tragically
unhip here at TJRS because when when we talked about the weekend a week ago, and we had this similar debate, so I posted that on our YouTube and our Facebook description of the show, and then I got pounded because I misspelled weekend. Weekend dropped an E, so it's week-N-D. And so once again,
that's the Mandela effect.
Yeah,
you ever heard of that?
No.
Oh yeah, that's where you think something is the way it's always been for years and years, and then you find out that that's not really the way it is. That actually, when you go back and you play it, because you've got it in your mind.
Right.
I'm trying to think of an example of it, of where everybody go, oh no, this is what it says.
I always thought it was this, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you go back and you play, go, oh, actually, that isn't what they say.
So you're saying
that's the Mandela
my
effect.
entire life is a lie?
The entire part of it.
Well, and that's what the dude taught me. That's Coco. And so on this deal, I have to blame COVID for me being unhip because I used to ride to school. I used to take her to school every morning, right? And every morning it was like, can I turn on the radio? And I'd say, yeah, go ahead, turn on the radio. And then she'd, obviously go on the hot
99.5.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't know who these people were. And I started learning the names of all these people. Now, obviously, the weekend must just came out.
No.
He's been around?
He's been around. He's been around, and he's.
But you have a good excuse. It's COVID. You haven't been in the car.
Exactly.
See?
It is a good excuse.
He's more of a Cardi B guy.
I could figure that out.
Cardi B.
How about this? Do you remember the halftime acts at your Super Bowls?
No, and I don't know who it was. I mean, well, George, what do you think? I went outside. Hey, Joe, hey, Bugle, shut up! I'm going out here and listen to halftime. All right?
Were you guys into
Gibbs, can you pipe down? I can't hear the music.
Hey, Joe, I know we just gave up the Rocket screen over the Raiders. Can I go?
While I'm out there, I'm going to go ahead and give away. No, actually, that had been the pregame because that was right before the half, if I'm not mistaken.
That halftime
That
is
reminds
a
me
show
of something.
called Kaleidoscope that featured a high school marching band from L.A. County. You can't make it up.
Is this the Pasadena or
This
is
was
it 17 or 18?
Pasadena.
17?
This is 17. It was produced by some famous producer, but it was minimalist. Versus the weekend.
Not to be confused with a colonoscopy. That's a different kind of scope, right? Kaleidoscope.
Not a colonoscope.
Yeah, not a colonoscope.
Okay,
That's
now
funny.
let's take the fiber optic microscope and stick it up Tampa Bay and Kansas City, and let's break down who do you like? Give me a tidbit or two as we close it out. You got to go last, big guy, because you are John Riggins, Super Bowl MVP.
I go last. Okay.
Jorge Wallace. Yorgie.
All right. I'm leaning towards Kansas City.
No.
No, I'm going to tell you why.
No.
Right.
This is definitive. This is being taped, George.
All these rules.
So there's
Don't
no.
do like I normally do, George. What I normally do is say, which I was going to, but I'm not, because now he's behind the rules.
Now that you
I
both-
usually say, I'm taking Kansas City. I like Kansas City, but I'm a reverse barometer. You see, you cover yourself.
I
both
like
ways.
that. All right, I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm going with a repeat. I think there's too much. I think the Chiefs, how crazy as it is, the Chiefs are coming in kind of under the radar here. It's all about Tampa playing at home. It's Tom Brady, what they've been able to do this postseason. And I think, the Chiefs' offensive line is banged up a little bit. I get that.
Yeah.
But Mahomes, he's a magician. And I think Andy Reid's had 2 weeks to prepare. I'm taking Kansas City by a touchdown in this one.
Everybody's got a Tom Brady hangover.
27-20.
He's definitely got a Tom Brady hangover.
Yeah.
I just think
I do too. I have a hangover.
Yeah,
But mine's a real hangover.
Riggo, we'd have it no other way. We'd have it no other way.
It was my wife's birthday.
Oh, right. That's right.
Huge.
That's right.
I think with Kelsey and Mahomes, I just think that they're going to be too much for Tampa. Yeah, I know Tampa's defense. I've heard all about it.
All right,
I just
save
think
it
they're going
for
to run out.
15 and 45. You've made your case.
I don't have
okay?
that much time
You've
at 15 and 45. I got 90 seconds.
George's like, you guys want to do this tomorrow?
Yeah. All right.
Well,
All right,
you know
Kansas
when he
City,
started out, he was
27-20.
hedging. Now he won't
Oh,
quit.
yeah. Now he's going to break down the third string left tackle. I'm
Can we
like,
take some calls on this? Let's go. All right.
you're next on Sports
All right,
Call.
you're next.
All right.
All right.
I am going opposite. I believe that Tampa Bay's defense is the best.
Yep.
They've got some healthy guys coming back to play. I don't think they're going to shut down Mahomes on their offense. I think they're going to slow him down a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Tampa Bay scoring first. I got Tampa Bay winning by 8, and Patrick Mahomes does not finish the game.
Because why?
He's going to get injured.
Are those
he's gonna
all
get
your
injured or he's
He's gonna get
are those
injured.
prop bets?
Oh,
All
I'm
those
What makes you
getting
think he's
warmed
going to
up.
get injured? Where'd that come from?
Because their defense, Tampa Bay's defense, is that fast, quick. Everybody can hit. And I think Mahomes, I think they're going to get some pressure. I think clearly he can beat you with his legs.
He's going to
And
KO Ndamukong Suh in the first play of the game. It's going to be a
not sure.
quarterback sneak
Listen,
right over Ndamukong
You
Suh.
can't even get that bad.
Mahomes has got the toe. Remember, he's dealing with a little toe, too. Right?
He's
That
got-
concussion, the playoff
Well,
game.
his toe's on almost 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he
He's
said.
been off for 2 weeks.
I'm throwing it out
as a
there.
point of view.
Yeah.
Look, I have to say that I am going with Kansas City, but I'm a reverse wrong. No,
He's
I've been
hedging.
thinking about this. Seriously, I think everything George said is true. I think Kansas City, when it's just raw horsepower, their offense, there's nothing like it. They got like 800 horsepower. They're like an electric car. And I just don't see. Tampa's got some weapons. They're not helpless. But I was impressed with a couple of things. I think that the Buffalo Bills have a pretty decent team. And Kansas City, once they got up on step, was like, it was like they were just breaking straws
They're like
constantly.
waving at 'em.
There was no contest. I just think that they've got that. And that kid, what's his name? Tyreek Hill.
Woo!
That guy is a game breaker like I've never seen before. I mean, it isn't so much that he's doing all this stuff, but just you get tired of watching. He's moving so fast. It's almost like he drank diamond dust or
Like a
something.
jackrabbit in his ability to cut and accelerate.
And guys that are like our 4-3 guys that he just does this and he's by him. I mean, it's incredible. And that's what I'm saying. They got Kelsey in the middle of the field. They got him for the deep threat, and Mahomes, he can do what he can do. And after having said all this stuff, I think Kansas City is the better team ultimately. And Andy Reid, I think, is the better coach. But I'm going to take Tampa because of the Tom Brady factor. I think that this guy is the luckiest guy. Forget Lou Gehrig. He, not just this day. I mean, this guy was born under a wandering star. I mean, I'm serious. I'm not going to bet against him.
Yeah.
I hate to say that. That's terrible because I'm wore out. I've had enough Tom Brady. Come on, I don't want to hear any more Tom Brady. But at the same time, if I had to put money on the game, I think I would bet on Tampa. My judgment tells me, just like you, Kansas City's a better team, should win the game, but don't count on it. Look at some of the Super Bowls that the teams he's played on have won. It had nothing to do with him. The pick that Seattle throws right at the, where they got.
He's surrounded by far superior talent.
Yeah, and
right now.
Who is?
Brady.
Yeah.
Then he's had more times than not.
Before,
Well, that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, and then you have then you have the one down in. I was there for that game in Houston where they kicked the ball out of bounds. Carolina kicks the ball, they get it on the 40-yard line. All you got to do is make a couple passes. Who kicks the game winner? The same guy that kicked the game winner in the game against the Raiders that Al Davis to this day say they were screwed by the ref.
Vinatieri?
I mean, he's still up in heaven, casting and saying, "Well, I think no, Al ain't up there. What am I thinking?"
Just win, Riggo.
Yeah, exactly. That's to be excellent. So that's my point. I think that I'm going to go with Tampa Bay, and I hate doing that, but I'm not going to bet against number 12. And you know what, George? Hope to see you again. Riggo out.